Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Starting Small. Today, I'm joined by Woody of W. Woody, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me here, Cameron.
Yeah, so to kick things off, I'd like to start out with your upbringing. Where did you grow up, and what would you say your childhood was like?
Yeah, so I grew up outside Philadelphia in the suburbs of the city. I'm lucky. I had a great childhood. I had two loving and supportive parents. I joke with my mom that she was a little too supportive at times. She would help fight my battles for me. So I kind of had to learn to do those on my own. But I had an older sister. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a dentist, so he was an entrepreneur in his own way,
Mm,
running his own practice and things like that. But I really had a great childhood that exposed me to a lot of the world. My parents loved to travel.
mm,
It certainly made me really curious about people and culture and consumers. I love going
mm,
to different countries and going to stores and really, my early childhood travels were a big part of that.
mm.
But yeah, grew up there and then went off. You know, Played a lot of sports there. Also, I think that's like important. I was like captain of a bunch of teams, so I think
Mm.
I've always kind of been put in kind of this leadership role
Yeah.
in a lot of different aspects of my life, whether it was you know school president
Mm.
or sports teams or things like that, which was great to experience, and now I'm really getting to live that professionally as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
grew up outside Philadelphia, and then went to college in Virginia at a small liberal arts school called
Mm.
Washington and Lee, um, which was a great college, great experience. But
Yeah.
it was a funny place. My sister went there, so
Okay.
I really followed her there. I didn't look at any other colleges except for Washington and Lee. I was like, this is where I'm going. There's
Yeah.
no other option. Um, Ended up being a great place for me, and they actually have one of the smallest business schools in the country. So I
Mm.
got to study business there and really start to kind of hone the financial acumen that I now use today as kind of a key quiver in my
Yeah.
toolkit.
Love it. So, I mean, diving in a little bit deeper into that section of your life. So, was the decision kind of solely based on your sister went there, so you saw her experience? I would love to hear the driving
Yeah, I
factor.
mean, I think growing up, had a great childhood, but I never, I was definitely like a scrappy entrepreneurial kid. I
Mm,
always say like I really, really, I coached tennis, gave tennis lessons. I played squash growing up, so I coached camps and would give lessons, but I never had like a service job growing up. And I really,
mm,
I tell my parents that all the time. I'm like, I really wish you had made me get up at 4 a.m., go work at a coffee shop, and just really have to deal with people because I love people.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, when I with college, like I didn't really know what I wanted to do coming out of. If you had asked me when I was in middle school, I would have said I wanted to be a dentist.
Okay.
Coming out of high school, I did not know what I wanted to do, but I was definitely very curious about the world and definitely like aspired to a lot professionally. I just didn't really know what that meant yet.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, going to Washington and Lee, I just had a great time there. I really loved the people there. My sister played lacrosse there, so I'd go visit her at school almost every other weekend with my parents when I was in high school. I just
yep.
fell in love with the place. It's a beautiful
Mm,
campus in rural Virginia with like great people, and there's a really amazing culture there. There's this really, if you meet me in person, I'm definitely a pretty outgoing, sometimes magnetic person, and
mm,
I love people. And
yeah.
Washington and Lee has this really unique thing, and I wish it's something we had elsewhere in life, but they have this really unique thing called the speaking tradition,
Mm.
where if you pass someone on campus, you're supposed to say hello.
Oh, wow.
And I really loved that. And they also have something called the honor code, which a lot of schools have, but basically it's, high level. If you lie, cheat, or steal, and you're found guilty by the student body, you're kicked out of school.
Mm,
And that actually happens to a lot of kids.
yeah.
So it's a really unique college, and I really loved kind of the culture and the historic weight that the university
Yeah.
carried with it. I just felt like an amazing fit for me. I went to a small private school outside Philadelphia. My class was like 100 kids, and
Wow.
Washington and Lee was about 500 kids in my grade. So that felt
Wow.
big in the beginning, very small
Yeah.
by the end. I was ready to get out. Um, but a really awesome experience, and it exposed me to kind of the career path I ultimately started on out of college, which was,
Mm,
I was in the business school. I was a business major, took economics classes, took business classes, entrepreneurship classes,
mm,
and everyone at my college, Washington and Lee is randomly a big feeder school for investment banking and private equity in New York.
I see.
So everyone in my business school wanted to get an investment banking job. So I was determined to get that investment banking job out of
Yeah.
college.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to get into that. So I did see down the road you went on to work at startups, which like consumer startups. But prior to that and then post graduation, did you go to New York? And what did that look like, that timeline?
Yeah. So right after graduation, I guess it really started my sophomore year of college. I got an internship at a wealth management fund in Houston, Texas. Went and lived in Houston for the summer, and
Mm,
realized I really loved numbers, and understood them well. And you can learn a lot by being good at Excel, but
mhm.
it wasn't really my passion. I think that's what we're ultimately all striving for. Like, what is that thing that gets you excited to get out of bed in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't feel like a job.
Yep.
And then went into investment banking, and it was in consumer. So I got an internship my junior year in New York at Deutsche Bank, one of the big investment banks in New York, um, that had a lot of W&L alumni at it,
Mm,
and I had a great experience there. I worked my butt off.
yeah,
Practically, was totally exhausted, but learned a lot. And I think that was the cool part about it. I think one thing that I've realized makes me, unique at what I do is I really love people, and I love dissecting people, and I love dissecting patterns and history and product consumption, and
yeah,
trying to understand how, I think brands can shift culture.
for sure.
Um, and the brands you use every day are, say a lot about you as a person. So
Definitely.
it's a really a big commitment. And I feel like I started to really think about that as I
Mhm.
began doing investment banking in the consumer space. It was
Yep.
just really fun. Like every week I was getting to study, dozens, if not hundreds of companies, in prepping for meetings, putting together company
Mm,
profiles. You really start immersing yourself in this world of consumer brands, and you realize it's far more complex than we all have appreciation for just as an average everyday consumer.
for sure. Getting into kind of the consumer products world, I know you eventually went on to Casper and then safely kind of taking that journey. What did that transition look like, getting in from the investment side and then
Yeah.
actually getting into the brand side? I'm curious.
Yeah, so after banking, I went and worked in private equity, where you're actually like buying
Mhm.
stakes in businesses and helping manage them.
Yep.
Um, an amazing experience for me, but what I quickly realized was I loved working. I had a few portfolio companies that I sat on the board of,
Hmm.
and I loved working with those companies. One of them was a denim company out in LA, True Religion Jeans, and I
Okay.
got to
Yeah.
do a ton of really fun projects with them. I was helping them optimize their website, helping them source fabrics, helping them think about their marketing optimization. I
Mm,
realized like that got me excited. That's where I wanted to spend my time, which was
yeah.
not my job at the private equity firm. It was like I was getting to do it, but the majority of my time was meant to be on new investments.
Yep.
And from there, I realized like, okay, this isn't the career for me. Although it's a very sought after career, most people would kill to have that job. It wasn't gonna fulfill me.
Mm,
So I then started looking at a bunch of consumer roles in New York, and it was kind of the heyday of D2C when
yeah.
Warby Parker, Blue Apron, all these brands were really on the come up,
Yep.
and they're all amazing brands. And luckily, I had a connection to someone at Casper. Like Casper was not a cool brand at that point. This was early 2014, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and or like mid 2014, and like no one had heard of Casper at that point. Like maybe in New York you had heard of it, but
Yeah.
it was still, they were less than 20 people as a company, so it was still very
Wow.
much not a sure thing. And was lucky enough to get my foot in the door there. I went in as a finance hire because that was really my skill set. I knew I was capable of much more than that, but that
Hmm.
was who people saw me as,
Yeah.
coming from finance. So I got my foot in the door that way, and then started working with different departments within the company, and really
Mm,
forming all these allies on the marketing team, on the retail team, on the experiential team. And I just
yeah.
got pulled into all these different projects and kind of proved my worth to the company, which
Hmm.
I think is like really important. I give that advice to people all the time. Like,
Yeah.
raise your hand. If you think you have a good idea or you have value to add, like, you both need to raise your hand and then come with work product as well,
Mm. Yeah.
showing kind of your perspective and why you think it's good. But that really opened up a lot of doors for me. So at Casper, I got this amazing experience to start on the finance team, did performance marketing, growth marketing.
Mm.
Then I got to do like kind of lead the product pipeline, product roadmap, and then got an amazing opportunity to be the head of e-commerce there.
Wow.
And I was in that role for 2 years and really got to apply that balance I have of analytical,
Yeah.
but also qualitative studies around like consumer behavior and all those things.
Mm.
And that really like launched me into the world of consumer in a big
Yeah.
way. Getting to run, a multi-$100 million
Mm.
business for Casper was a really, really cool experience.
Love that.
And that opened the doors to kind of what I'm doing today.
Love it. I'd like to get into maybe Casper when you joined. You mentioned kind of 20 team members. What did that growth look like with your journey there? What did team member look like? Team count, also maybe revenue count.
Yeah, I mean, I
Curious.
think when I started Casper, it was probably around 60 million in revenue, I want to say. So like they were definitely a big business at the time, but they were still very small. And the beauty of
Yeah.
Casper is it's $1,000 AOV. So
Yeah.
you could get big really quickly, and it
For
was
sure.
that period of time where you could still acquire customers profitably, and there was just so much, and it wasn't a very competitive space.
Mm.
Um, and then I mean, while I was at Casper, I think we went to 5 offices while I was there. Like we kept outgrowing our offices. There was one
Wow.
point where we had a lease to an office that we never even moved into because we outgrew it so quickly.
Wow.
Um, which those are just like funny startup moments.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean the team really really expanded at Casper. Like at first we were D2C, and then one of the big growth points for Casper was them starting to open all their own retail stores. So they brought in a
Mm.
big team for that. And I think by the time I ended up leaving Casper, I think we were close to 800 people, including retail
Wow.
employees. Like it was
Wow.
big. Like we had two floors in the World Trade Center
Wow.
downtown. Like it was a big company, and then it went public in February 2020, right? As COVID was basically starting to
Wow.
shut down the world.
Yeah.
So it was a really wild and fun
Yeah,
ride.
for sure. Getting into, I know, but right before W, your journey kind of flows into consumer still, but you're part of the founding team of Safely. What is that experience like for you? How did you meet the founders?
Totally.
That relationship?
Yeah, I mean, that was an amazing experience. Really stemmed from my Casper experience and just having a great network of
Mm.
people who respected me and believed in me in New York City. I was friends with the venture firm that backs a lot of the Kardashian brands,
Mm.
and they were looking for a young, hungry operator to help them start and launch safely. So I started getting to know the team there and really hit it off. And you don't really get no very few people get opportunities to start a Kardashian brand in their life.
Yeah.
And it was COVID, and I was, New York was quote unquote dead at that time. So I was like, all right, like let's do this thing. I'll move to LA and we'll do it. And it was an amazing, amazing experience. Like I got to
Mm.
work with two of the best operators in consumer, Emma and Jens Reed,
Mm.
who, they've scaled Skims to a multi-billion-dollar behemoth, and they're
Wow.
scaling Good American and several other brands, and they are really great visionary operators and leaders. So it was really fun getting to work, with them and under them as we got Safely off the ground. And I really got to learn. It was really amazing to see inside the Kardashian empire. Kris
Mm.
Jenner, is an amazing, amazing businesswoman who is just so, so, so sharp.
Yeah.
So I really learned a lot, and I think the coolest learning I think I got, or some of the big learnings I got out of Safely are, it's so so important to have like really great product founder fit, like
Yeah.
product brand founder fit.
For sure.
Um, and then I think also I learned the power of retail.
Mm.
We launched that business D2C, which was kind of my historic bread and butter. And then
Yep.
we quickly expanded into Bed Bath and Beyond, RIP. And then we also launched in about
Mm.
3,300 Walmart doors. And
Wow.
through that, it really opened my eyes up to the power of Walmart and the power of kind of the real American consumer, if you will. I think living in New
Yeah.
York, living in LA, living on the coast, a lot of people create brands for themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm genuinely really, really excited about starting brands for America, not
Mm.
just kind of the coastal bubbles.
Yeah.
and launching safely in Walmart really opened my eyes to that, and I started
Mm.
to develop a network in that Walmart world, which has served me well, and I think is going to be
Yeah.
where I start a lot of brands over the next couple of decades.
Yeah. Love it. What that timeline there? I'm curious. When did Safely launch? And I mean, was that like right at the sweet spot of COVID?
No, we started working on it. We started working on it in 2020, and then we launched in like March, April of 2021.
Okay.
So it was still like it was still pretty in the sweet spot of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Um, yeah, so it was definitely. I think it was certainly an idea inspired by COVID,
Mhm.
and I think the belief was and still is that you can just do it better than some of the heritage brands in the cleaning space.
Mm. For sure. I think your journey is like interesting how I mean, starting investing in consumer brands, getting into then Casper, but then moving into more celebrity slash creator focused driven brands. I'm curious, what was that experience and transition like for you? Because you definitely
Yeah,
have to take an approach of content first.
totally. I mean, I actually don't think if you kind of boil it down to first principles, I
Yeah.
don't think it's very different.
Yeah.
It is it's all about attention arbitrage. Like at the time when I was at Casper and when D2C was really hot, the
Yeah.
arbitrage was Facebook CPMs. And you
Hmm.
were able to acquire a lot of customers for very cheap. And I
Yeah.
think today that arbitrage has shifted to these captive audience that these creators and celebrities have.
Yeah.
So from a kind of business standpoint, I would say the shift wasn't that difficult. And then I think I'm
Mhm.
very lucky. I love
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and that working with celebrities is all about you know being someone people want to work with, and
For
it's about
sure.
personality management, and it's about knowing your place and knowing where you can add value and where you want to defer to that person. And I think I feel like I've really come up that learning curve extremely quickly. So I think
Yeah.
from a business fundamentals perspective, it's a marketing channel.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to work with these people who understand their audiences so well. They
For sure.
understand kind of where they fit within society, how to tap into those audiences. Especially Jake. It's been so amazing getting to work with him, which we'll touch
For
on
sure.
W. Um, the guy is truly one of the best marketers in the world, and he
Yeah.
has just an endless amount of good ideas.
Mm. Getting into W, that opportunity, how did that arise for you? Was that pretty similar to Safely on getting approached on that opportunity? I'm curious.
A bit, yeah. I mean, I had left safely and was starting to consult for some brands as I figured out what I wanted to do next because I knew, I was 32 at the time,
Yep.
32 about to turn 33, and I was like, all right, whatever I do next, like it's got to be something I'm like really excited about because this is going to be my 30s.
Yeah.
And I got connected to Jeff Wu, who's Jake's business partner in Anti Fund via network. I think, you know,
Yep.
it's about who you know. I think it's very valuable to be someone, who is helping other people and who is just like connecting and putting your best foot forward. Is that is a lot of where these opportunities will come from in life.
For sure.
And yeah, so I got connected to Jake and Jeff through a mutual friend,
Mm.
and we just started chatting. At first it was pretty casual. We were starting to kick the tires on some opportunities, and they were just trying to understand how I work as an operator and how I approach things. And
Mm.
we ended up, I did a big case study for them, and then I ended up consulting with them for several months before we decided to officially co-found the business together because it's a big
Mm.
step,
Yeah.
deciding to start a business with someone. So you really want to get to know the person, and same for me. Like I really didn't know Jake. I knew who Jake Paul was, but
Yeah.
I really didn't know his universe that well. So I also really wanted to get to know the universe and get to know him as a person before I
Mm.
also signed up to do this. But Jake is an amazing business partner and person, and so it's been such a pleasure getting to know him and to keep building this thing together.
I love it. So I've been following W since launch, and I told Gianna, who actually represents your PR, um, how you guys have like the brand, and I mean the launch you guys had was so executed so well. I'm curious that rollout there. You mentioned some case studies, but why didn't Jake and the team land upon maybe body wash, the sprays, and then also the branding point of view of just simply W? Love to hear.
Yeah, I think Jake had this amazing insight. Like W is so pervasive in culture. The
Yeah,
idea of get the W, give someone a W, W's in the chat.
yeah,
Like W is all over. So like once you start looking for W, you see it everywhere. And he was like, it's insane to me that no one has owned the letter W, stands
mm,
for win. And so that was just kind of a moment of Jake Paul genius.
yeah,
He understands culture. He's tapped in. He's on the pulse, and he was like, this needs to exist.
mm,
And then I think why specifically we started W in this personal care category is because there isn't a brand that really resonates with his generation of consumers, that Gen Z, Gen Alpha consumer.
yeah,
there's there's a bunch of different brands that have been in the market for a long, long time. A lot of those brands I kind of bucket into the label of your father's brands.
yeah,
You kind of default into a brand when you hit puberty, and that's just what you use because there really aren't many options.
yep,
And I think that was the reason we went after this category. Like Axe kind of owned this territory for the young male consumer back in the mid 2000s, and they
yep,
were kind of the hot thing. And I think they've lost a bit of their luster.
yeah,
And so we think the modern young male consumer needs a better brand, and what better brand than a brand that stands for winning and trying to
yeah,
instill confidence in young men, because I think that was something that inspired Jake to call the brand W as well, which
mm,
is that there is a need to inspire this next generation of young men,
yeah,
in a lot of ways, whether it comes to social things, academic things, career things. Uh, this generation needs to be pushed a little bit.
mm,
And I think Jake is someone they look up to, and he really wanted to create a brand that stands for putting in the work and getting the W.
yeah. Love
Um,
it.
and then in terms of the categories, we really wanted to focus on like guys are using the basics of personal care. They're using deodorant, they're using body wash, they're using shampoo and conditioner. And
Yep,
we thought, what better way to build trust with the consumer than to launch into those categories where they're using it every day and they may not have loyalty to a brand. They just have
yeah.
been using the same brand by default for a very long time.
Mm. At that launch, then, did you guys roll out nationwide Walmart right at launch? Do you see in conjunction with Walmart? I'm curious what that rollout was like.
Yeah, so no, we didn't do any D2C. I think our price point is in a pretty tight band. Like our lowest price point is our bar soap for
Yeah,
497. Then our highest price is 797.
yeah,
So it's hard to make those economics work on D2C,
for sure.
especially since some of our products are liquid. So we really didn't launch D2C, and that was very intentional. We were able to get a great partner in Walmart to launch with us nationwide from
Mhm.
day one. And so we wanted to lean into that in a big way. So in mid June we launched nationwide in 3,900 Walmarts to start. Later
Wow,
expanded to 4,300. But we went big. We
wow,
went big, and
that's
it's
huge.
it's paid off, and it's been fun. And I think because we have the platform that Jake has, we were able to go that big and have it work because we
Yeah,
were able to drive a lot of brand awareness from day one.
yeah. How do you guys tap into that network that Jake has? I'm curious. So, I mean, quickly, I see some partnerships that pop up here and there with athletes. You guys are quickly pumping out content. You have to be quick and versatile, especially with a creator-led brand. How do you tap into that network, and what does that look like?
Totally. I mean, I think it all like we started tapping into it with our gifting kits, our like
Mm,
viral AI gifting kits
yeah.
that were all over the internet.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they were really fun. I think we're still the first brand to really use AI deepfakes at scale like that. It was a
Mm,
really, really fun experiment, and the internet loved it. And that all started with us tapping into Jake's ecosystem. Like, who are the
mm,
people that like Jake? Who are the people that want to be in business with him? And to really engage with their networks collaboratively. And then we started thinking like the goal with W is not, it's specifically not called W by Jake Paul,
yeah,
right? We don't want the brand to be solely tied to Jake. Jake has an
yeah,
amazing, and Jake's very aligned with this goal. We talk about it all the time. If W is successful, the customers who are buying this product in a year or 2 years or 3 years from now, like they probably don't know it's a Jake Paul brand. Like Jake is
yeah,
going to continue to push the brand and raise awareness, but we need to start reaching outside of his universe.
For
And so
sure.
that's why we've started to bring on some amazing co-owners to support, like Sugar Sean,
Yeah.
Ruby Rose, Arca Angel. Logan is an ambassador of the brand as well.
Mm.
Tomorrow, this won't go live tomorrow, but
No, no,
tomorrow, right?
no. We got a few
So
weeks out. No.
we have a really fun announcement that we're dropping tomorrow, which is Livy Dunn. She's
Oh,
going to
sweet.
be like a co-owner, ambassador of the brand. So we're really trying to tap into these different psychographic and demographic buckets
Yeah.
of people who will speak to young men and young women and the mothers of these young men to encourage them to try this product and hopefully love the product and
Yeah.
be a customer for life.
I love it. Genius. Getting into maybe like potential of collabs, what that might look like. So I'm curious from your point of view, the future of W, like do you see other product rollouts maybe in collab with another creator or what the possibilities might look like for that?
For sure, we're certainly exploring it.
Mhm.
There are a lot of categories I'm really excited about that I think our brand has permission to play in the
Yeah.
personal care space. So we'll certainly be expanding products in 2025 into some fun new categories that I think will serve the young male consumer really well.
Yeah.
And then in terms of collabs, it's a really interesting one. I think as we especially expand into channels, like especially as we launch Amazon and we launch TikTok Shop and some of these quicker moving channels, retail is a hard place
Yeah.
to, especially for these products that have permanent slots on a shelf. You really only touch those slots twice a year.
Yeah.
Um, so we are launching products that we want to sit on the shelf forever, but I think there's a fun opportunity to find specific people
Mm.
where they just resonate really well with the consumer in a new product category. So we're certainly exploring it. I think it's
Yeah.
got to be the right creator and the incentives need to align because
Yeah.
like Jake, as you can see on social media, he's talking about the brand all the time. He's
Yeah.
pumping it, he's using the product. And I think if we were to launch a collaborative product with someone else, that needs to be the approach. They need to be
For sure.
down to use it all the time and really promote it and have it be their own. Something we're certainly open to for the right person if they have enough star power.
Yeah.
And in terms of partnerships, like we're starting to explore what that means for W in the long term.
Mm.
Today, we've kind of been doing some one-off fun stunty partnerships because the internet really likes it and it makes us feel bigger than we are. That's like kind of a mantra I have, like we're 4 months old as a
Yeah.
brand, but how do we do things that just make us feel bigger than we are? And I think we've done a really good job of doing that so far.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to start exploring some longer term partnerships, but for us it's really just about like testing and learning into some of these brands and these sports to understand,
Mm.
does this resonate with our demographic? Is
Yeah.
this a place we want to invest for a long-term partnership?
For sure. Team wise at W, what does that build out look like for the team at W? And have you guys grown since the past 4 months? The team wise, I'm curious. Are you staying lean? Love
We're
to hear.
trying to stay lean, but
Yeah.
we're also, we're moving and shaking. So
Yeah.
it comes with some push and pull. So, we were about 20 people all in, including full-time and contractors who are
Yeah.
part of the brand. And I think we'll probably add a few more key hires in the next couple of months, really on like kind of the marketing and operations side, because it's about like those are two of the key areas where you need leverage to scale.
For sure.
But we have an awesome team who's done a phenomenal job building the company to where it is today. And I think now it's about, we've moved so quickly as a brand. We've kind of done what, most brands do in the first 18 to 24 months in about 4 months. So
Wow.
now now we're kind of starting to level up a little bit and
Yeah.
get ready for how do you set the foundation so this business can scale into, several hundred millions of dollars of revenue without any
Yeah.
hiccups.
Love it. Getting into the product itself here as we slowly wrap up, like for the listeners out there, what are the main value props in comparison to if they walk down that aisle? If they look towards W or another product, what are those value props?
Totally. Yeah, I think one thing for us, like one of our taglines is made without weird stuff.
Yeah.
We looked at a lot of the products in the category and there's just like some really basic things you can do to take out phthalates, parabens, harsh sulfates, artificial dyes.
Yeah.
And, those to me are like really amazing table stakes product improvements you can make that
Yeah.
just aren't available with most mass brands. So to me, that's huge. Like I found America isn't necessary. Like a lot of people say they want natural products, but
Yeah.
then they don't necessarily vote with their wallets. So
Yeah.
where we're trying to land is like we're trying to be better for you, but still work so that the American consumer, like, kind of the average American consumer is really excited about the brand and really excited about the product, and it works really well. And
Yeah.
so that to me, like, I'm jazzed up about that, because if you
Yeah.
can get someone to buy a product that's 50% better than what they're using today on the scale of Walmart, like,
Mm.
that's meaningful impact. That's way more
Yeah.
impact than I'm ever going to have selling a brand at Erewhon.
For
So
sure.
we're really excited about that. And then there's also, like, all the products are vitamin infused, which is kind of
Mm.
this idea of, like, these small little incremental changes you can make that will hopefully, compound over time and improve improve your health, improve your vitality. And
Mm.
then, it's about scent too.
Yeah.
So much about how you feel is about how you smell. So
Yeah.
we worked with an amazing scent house and nose to produce some amazing clean fragrances that we're really proud of. And I think, and then also the products are all great values.
Yeah.
We really wanted to value engineer our products so that they are affordable to the consumer and they don't have to break their budget to
Mm.
try it relative
Yeah.
to what they're already buying.
Yeah. I actually would like to touch on that. You mentioned the flavor house for the smells. What does that R&D process look like from the team wise? Because I was on the flavor house side for tasting products. Are you guys in a conference room getting multiple different iterations of smells, and whose nose are you abiding
Yep.
by? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fun one. There was a trip summer of 2023 where I was down in Puerto Rico at Jake's house, and we all probably smelled 150 smells.
Yeah.
Um, we brought down all these scents to sample and tried to, divide them up by logic, and we had cups of coffee beans for all of us to clear our sinuses. So a lot, I mean, I would say a lot of it was consensus building, and then at the end of the day, like, Jake's the tiebreaker. If he really likes something, as long as it kind of fit into, like, the structure of kind of, the different scent profiles you want to hit, a
Yeah.
lot of this, a lot of it has to be from Jake, because at the end of the day, you want him to be super, super excited about the product that's going out the door.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Woody, such an incredible story and journey so far. I'd like to wrap up with this. If you can share one piece of advice with an aspiring entrepreneur, maybe something you've learned or regret along the way, what would you say that would be?
For sure. I mean, I think there's maybe two things.
Yeah.
One would be just start doing it. I think it's always really, really daunting to start a business. And I found one thing I didn't do early on was I didn't talk to people about my ideas. I would kind of keep it all inside. So I think talk to people and start
Mm.
doing it, and, like, things will start falling into place. And then I also think just get out there and hustle. I always tell people, people ask me all the time for intros to people, and I'm like, well, have you tried to get in touch with them yet? And they're like, no, 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 I haven't. I was like,
Mm.
well, send them an email. Like,
Yeah.
people will respond, and if they don't respond, like I think people have kind of learned that about me. But, if people reach out to me and I don't respond, I love people. It doesn't mean I
Yeah.
don't want to respond. It probably means I'm really busy. So
Yeah.
follow up again. Like, I love it when people follow up. So I think just, like, be persistent. Like, if you
Mm.
need to get in touch with someone, like, figure out how to do it and follow up, because
I
they
love that.
will ultimately get back to you.
So well said. Well, Woody, thank you so much for taking the time. And to the listeners out there, make sure to check out W at Walmart, of course, and also getw.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Cameron.